Our business is approaching succession from the first to the second generation. Okay, this is a big moment. There's not really a generation one ownership philosophy. And they had to change their plan as one of the two sons left the business shortly before they were ready to pass the business on. Okay, that's generation one. Do you think they should be encouraged to create one, or should the second generation just start forming theirs and run with it once they become owners? Oh, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to repeat this. Our business is approaching succession from the first generation to the second. There's not really an ownership philosophy. I think you're saying in the first generation, they had to change their plan because one left the business. Correct. Okay. First generation doesn't really have a philosophy. Do I think that first generation should be encouraged to create one, or should second generation just start forming theirs and run with it? Okay. Once they're owners. Okay. Ooh, this is such a good question. I'm going to preface my answer to this question with something I said again at the EOS conference, and I surprised myself with the answer. At one of the receptions, someone said to me, Sarah, you read about this all the time. The second generation shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations and family business and stuff like that. He said, do you think the second generation screws up the family business or the third? And I paused for a second and I surprised the hell out of myself when I said, I actually think it's the first. And this is where my brain went. And I'm seeing some of you agree with me on this. It's the lack of a plan, the lack of a sense of legacy or clear direction around legacy, the lack of a philosophy from the first generation that causes them to do somewhat chaotic things when they transition the business from the first to the second. And then the second generation has that as a model, and then they do chaotic things as they pass from second to third. And there's too much chaos in the system when that happens. So I really think it starts with the first generation. So with that philosophy, I would say, please get your first generation having clarity around their philosophy. And by philosophy, this is what I mean. Why do we own the business? What does it take to be an owner in the business? What does it take to work in the business? How do we make decisions? What kind of growth do we want from the business? Or what kind of money do we want from the business? Or ideally both. That's how I think about a philosophy. If the first generation refuses to, or won't get around to it, or can't think about it, or like most entrepreneurial leaders, haven't given it even 1 ounce of thought because they've just been barely trying to keep the business going because they founded it, and there's no way in the whole wide world that's going to happen, in that case, I would say, please, second generation, start having those conversations and do it. So for you who asked the question, if you think there's no chance the first generation will do it, yes, please have the second one.